Hey, thanks for joining me today. My name is Jason Sen. I'm starting a series of podcasts with a lot of my old friends and colleagues from the LIFFE floor. We all worked together in the trading floor in the 90s. It was such a unique period of time that I really want to get some podcasts and some interviews on video, mainly actually for all of my friends and colleagues who were on the floor, because this will be really entertaining for all of us. But I think also other people who are interested in trading and didn't experience the floor, I think you'll find it really useful. So this is the first. I'm going to introduce you to my good friend Stephen Savva, who is a bit of a legend on the floor, and I'm going to start by asking him. He's certainly well known. I'm going to start by asking Savva. So how did you get started on the floor?
Well, it was Mitchell Fox. So basically, before I went into the city, I did everything from making false teeth to roofing to working in supermarkets. I did everything, and I just didn't like working, basically. So I had a chance. Mitchell was going out with my sister at the time, and he came round to our house, and he just said to my father, "I can get Stephen in the city." And I thought nothing of it, but I went and worked for Citibank for 9 months, and I was a temp. And it was
What year was this?
This was in '88. So
Right.
88. I mean, I remember the interview, looking up at the screen, all the trading prices, just thinking, "Wow!" And went there for 9 months. I just didn't go to work because I was DJing at the time, so I'd never go to work. So she had to let me go, and I was gutted, and I was tearful, to be fair. And she let me go, and literally a week before I was going to leave, Nick Cobb from Revco came up to me and said, "We need runners. When can you start?" So I didn't even have an interview. So it was a case of, oh, wow. I started the following Monday, and I worked there. And obviously, Revco, there was myself, Julian Bloxon, Tony Paris, Neil Stitt, Waggy, Jackie Crouch. We had such a tight little knit team, and we had good fun. I mean, we were.
So you were at Revco pretty much from the start, really.
Yeah, and then of course Babcock's took over, which was interesting, because obviously when Bunker took over, and obviously when you have a merge, people leave and people get made redundant. And I saw all around me all the people I worked with for the last sort of year or two, or couple, whatever it was, and I saw them leaving, and it was quite upsetting, because obviously we were really close, and seeing people go.
You formed a strong bond with people on that floor, didn't you? Because you're going into battle every day, really.
I mean, yeah. I mean, some of the
and you had to trust each other, so.
Well, of course you do, because you had to have each other's backs as well. But I remember Dick Matthews put me in the EQ pit, and he put me in the EQs. So I thought, I'm not having this. So I went up to him, and I just threw my cards on the floor. I was crying like a baby in my 20s. And I'm like, if you want to get rid of me, just tell me and I'll go. I don't want to be humiliated by working in the EQ pit. And he's like,
yeah, it was a small pit, not much volume.
Nothing goes on. He's like, "Do you want to work in the Euromarks?" And I was just a bit like, "Yes, please." But so
that was a big
got into the Euromarks, and I started working in the Euromarks. Was the first pit with them, and Alex Holloway joined us. So it was me and Alex were one side of the pit, and I think there's someone else over the other. I think it was someone called Gary. I think I remember right, because Revco, we had a big firm, a big team on the floor. So I started in the Euromarks with Alex Holloway. Funny enough, one of the funniest things, and this still stays with me to this day. One of the stories with me and Alex, we went out on a Thursday night, because Thursday night was your night out, usually on a Friday or a Friday, but we went out on a Thursday night. And you know what it's like. You go to Teo's, you go to Mithras, Latrex. I mean, we went clubbing as well. I mean, we didn't get back to my house till 5 a.m. And it's a case of, I mean, there's no point going, you know, it's such a good night. I was trying to grab an hour. So he was down on the couch downstairs. I was upstairs anyway. I'll never forget, I came down, he's pacing up and down. I can't sleep. We've got bloody work in an hour. And the Euromarks that morning, so we went in, we got into that quarter to 8. I was just lying in the booth, just lying there, and it's like, I can't face anything here. Anyway, Dick, Greg Bryce, get in the pit. So me and Alex went, and I do remember the pits, because obviously you walked into them, they went down, didn't they? And they had bars.
Yeah, they were all sunken into the middle.
Bar. Yeah, I went down, literally lied like that, and Alex is like, "Get here," and I'm like, "No, I can't."
So you're lying down on the floor of the pit, in the middle of the pit.
No, I was lying, I was just like lying like that.
I see you're resting on the step. Yeah.
And then Alex was just flooded with orders, 2 for 200, 1,000. He had massive orders, And he's like, Savva, help me, swearing at me. And I'm just like, and I do remember going like that to him, but it was just fun. But I will say, fair play, he didn't have one error. Didn't have one error.
Really?
And this went on for about 5 or 6 minutes. And then afterwards, it calmed down.
Amazing.
He's like, go and get some breakfast. And we have to deal with this. Because I remember one time, I mean, my biggest order in the pit, it was a Friday afternoon at 5 to 3 on a Friday. So it's short sterling, obviously, at this time. So I went from the Euromarks, and I was in the Bunds as well, but then I went down to the short sterling and gilts under Dave Stoller, Sterry, and Steptoe. I mean, that was the best fun ever working with that lot. Gogs and Gary Petit.
They were good lads.
Nick
Yeah, I
Inglis,
used to. Their
Malcolm
booth was right by my short sterling pit, so
yeah, that's
I was
right.
always
Yeah.
chatting to them.
So I remember one time down the pit, I was down the back with the runners, and John Steptoe has come running up to me. He's like, Savva, get in the short sterling pit. It was 5 to 3, and we were going to go out that night. So I thought, I'm not going to do too much. Get out. There's no one in the pits. And I had an order, market for 14,000 short sterling. I mean, it's 14,000 a builder. And at the time, you would have a trading card, and one thing you'd be like, "What's offered?" And it was quiet. There wasn't a lot of volume in the market. And it's like, buy them, buy them, buy them. I mean, and you got your friends next to you, I'm at 14. Like, no, you're not. 15 bid, you know, well, you just bid it right up. And I actually managed to get most of it done. I think some of it had to go onto APT because the volume wasn't in the market. It was a Friday. But that was my biggest order. And I mean, and it's like you buy 200, buy 33, buy 7, buy 6, buy this. And you're writing them down. And to be fair, my adding up got really, really quite good. But there was times, there was times you have an error. There was one morning, and this I never forget this story. I was in the Bunds, and I went in the Bund. I was a bit, I think I was hungover, to be totally honest with you, Jace. But I remember not feeling great. I was with Simon Blount. Yeah. So we had in the Bunds for Revco, you had one side with Nick and Gino, which did a lot of volume, and you had me and Mark Pottle, or Simon Blount, if depends if Mark was in or, you know, covering with cover. But it was me and Simon Blount this particular morning. The Bunds literally opened, and within seconds, I had an order to buy 50, and I sold it by mistake, and I lost £32,000 in literally. The market wasn't even a minute, and I remember my Bunds manager at the time came up to me because after, you know, come up, you right? I went, no, I'm not. He's like, what's wrong? I went, I've had an error. I've lost 32 grand. He's like, it's only a minute. You know, we've been open a minute. How can you lose 32 grand? Well, I bought it instead of sold it. I bought it whatever the wrong way. I can't remember, but yeah. And I had to get out of it, obviously, because the market dumped. And yeah, I lost £32,000. And I remember he was that close to my face, screaming at me in front of the whole bumper. Everyone's watching, and I could feel spittle just coming off my face and my forehead. And I had stress rash. It stressed me out right that much. And I was too scared to even wipe away the spittle. I just took it. I just took it. And he's gone, get back in that pit and get that money back now. And I just went, nah, I'm going to go for a coffee and a fag. And I just went to walk off, and he's grabbed me. And I remember he just went like this, up and down. Okay. You go and have your coffee and your fag, then get in that fucking pit and make the money back. And that's what he said, which was quite funny, to be fair. But make it back.
And did you get it back?
No, I had a stinker that day. But yeah, it wasn't. That was one of the worst. I mean, the thing is, in the pits, you can lose money so quickly if you're not alert. And sometimes, you know, you do get things wrong. I mean, I remember working in the gilts, and there was a girl, local, one of the girls. I forget her name. I can picture. I can't remember her name. And again, we were massive, big paper fillers in the gilts. Me and Malcolm Duke, and I was working an order, and I said to her, "Oh, do you want me to sell you 20 below?" She's like, "Yeah." And afterwards, she come up to me and said, "Oh, I thought I sold to you." I went, "No," and we checked the video, and you could clearly see I was in the right. and it wiped her out. That's what I heard, and I felt terrible about that.
Wow, really?
You know, yeah. Well, I was a local. I wasn't a local for long. I was a local when Revco was still under Tony Paris, because I went to fill the gilt pit. I was to do our gilts and Short Sterling, and I remember I worked for Jason and Glenn at the time, and I remember in my first month I dropped 10 grand, and I was devastated because from earning a good salary, what you would earn being working for a company, to work for yourself.
Good 60 in the 90s, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, but yeah, it was silly money what we used to earn in your 20s, but yeah, I thought I was wiped out, but luckily I chipped away at it. It took a few months, but I chipped away and I got it back. I think, I mean, I went through a stage also on the floor. When I left the floor, I went to work in, you know, you do the it was APT, wasn't it, computer, and I did set myself up with
computer trading after hours, wasn't it?
Yeah, but then I went, obviously the floor went, and then I started being a trader on like screens, and I used to work for ICA. I worked with Simon Blau, funny enough, and he was amazing at it.
So after you left the floor in '98, you traded for yourself on screen.
Yeah, I did it for 6 months, but I lost 25 grand. So but
I did exactly the same when we went screen trading. I lost about 30.
I mean, yeah, but you know what it was like. I mean, when at the time, obviously, leaving the floor, it's not the same paper filling as working on a computer screen. You've got to be a bit more patient, I think, with a computer screen. And the one thing that I never did until the last couple of weeks of trading was average. And I saw other traders in the you know, who worked at the same place as I did. Well, they averaged and always made money. So I thought, I'll have a go at it. And of course, when I did it, no, it went the other way, and that wiped me out. And yeah, I had to get out. I had to stop it, and that was the end of me. That was me finished in the city. I took 2 years out after that, and I then started doing recruitment a few years back later. But that was the thing that you know, for me. But you know, going back to being on the floor, it wasn't. And we were talking about family and friends. I mean, one of the best things for me was our runners, because at Revco we had such a good group of runners. There must have been 15 of them, 20 of them, even, because we had so many traders and that, and we were one of the biggest players on the floor. I mean, but the runners, they did such a big job for you, and I don't think they didn't get recognised for that. So every month I'd do a thing called the Savva lottery. So instead of the Camelot lottery, we had the Savva lottery. All right, I'm not going to give you $1 million. I don't have $1 million, but I'm going to give you £100 a month. And I did it, and they'd all write their numbers down. And we did it every month, and it was lovely. Someone always won, even if you got one number, because you're going to make out so many numbers. And I always honoured that, and we had a real sort of good, you know, it was a good thing to do. I thought it was, because our runners, they did so much for us, and if it wasn't for them, you know, you finish trading at 4:15 when the markets close. They're then there till 6 o'clock if need be. If you've had a busy day, even later. But you know, once you go and look at your mismatches and think, you know, or mismatches, obviously you need to go to the screen so you can see who you traded with and people are trading. If there's any crossover, you can sort it out. But for what they used to do, it was amazing. I mean, we had some great times with Revco as well, because the Christmas parties were the best. I mean, I remember going to the Grand. We went to the Grand, and I always used to stay with either Alex or Simon Blau. And we was in there I was with Simon one time, and I don't know where he's gone. I'm like, where's Simon? I've gone and looked at him, went up to our room, and he's like, there's a bird in my room. She won't get out. And I've gone in the room. She was in the wardrobe. And as soon as I opened the wardrobe door, she started hitting me with a fire extinguisher. This is in the middle of our room before we went down for dinner. I'm like, Simon, who is it? And he's like, I don't know. But we had some great times. And we went to the Belfry quite a lot. That was quite an interesting place to go.
I did a night up there.
The golf. Well, I didn't play golf. I just used to go out the night out. I remember Dick bought his. He had a yellow Ferrari which he bought off Elton John. He took it up there. I remember seeing it. That was a lovely, lovely little car. But yeah, he was. He was with Revco. There was a lot of things. It was lots of fun, laughter. The best times, I think, was in the Short Sterling pit. I never forget. I remember when everyone used to wear your black Gucci loafers with the silver buckle. They were cool loafers to wear. And I remember getting up in my first pair, and I was thinking, oh, I love these. And Stoller's like, get in the pit. So I was in the pit, and I'm sure it was Stoller or it was one of our short Sterling Boo that did it. They always said they didn't do it. They Tipp-Ex'd my heels, and I was so gutted because it's my new shoes. And do you remember we'd do that? I
They were
mean, I
about
would
200 quid, weren't they? So it was a lot of money in those days.
yeah. But another thing we'd do is I'd go and we'd have our canteen, and I'd go and get the butter and the Marmite and open them and put them in someone's pocket. And you've got chewing gum over there. Yeah. Oh, what have you put in my... And Gary Petit was always a classic for doing it. Savva, phone call, and you go to answer the phone, and you got your ears full of boot polish because they just put black boot polish on the ear. They just love. It was such a work, play hard place to work, wasn't it? I mean, I've got friends to this day, as I say, I still talk to them. I'm in the Life group with a load of golfers. I mean, I haven't actually played golf with them yet, but I will do at some point. But the banter still goes on to this day with them. As I say, unfortunately, the Tottenham fans get it a lot because obviously Tottenham don't win a lot. So obviously the Tottenham boys get it a lot. I mean, the Chelsea ones, not so much, but it's mainly banter between Arsenal, Chelsea, Arsenal, West Ham, Tottenham and Chelsea. So it's a good little thing to have that sort of going on still. And it is nice to be in contact with them and, seeing lovely. It's lovely still being part of the Life group when you see photos go up. I live in Devon now, so it's not as easy for me to get up to the Life floor dues. I wanted to come up for Christmas, but I couldn't at the time, but I'll probably come to the next one. But just seeing all the old faces and just people looking that little bit older, but there's just so much love there still. Because that was the thing, wasn't it? It was our little group, and it was such an amazing experience. That something that I will never forget.
Yeah,
for the rest of
we
my
do have a
days.
very special bond because we all you battle with someone. Obviously, you're there dealing with tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds, so you would have battles, and I battle it every week with some of the other market makers in the pit. But you'd then go out afterwards, you'd have a beer. It was all very mutual respect, and then you've got this for life. You've got this bond. I was out with a few of the Sterling Option lads the other night. And you may not have seen them for a very, very long time, but you've definitely got this bond, and it's as if you've only seen each other a year or two ago. It's an amazing thing.
It is. It's like I always think it's like when you don't speak to your mate for a while, and you just take off where you left off, and that's always the same. I mean, living in Devon, I've actually had a film come down. I mean, Smurf was on his way to Cornwall. He popped in, stayed the night at a barbie with him. I've had Vanessa Winspear come and meet me for coffee. John Stafford come and stayed. I've had some, and obviously Paul O'Hare and Simon Blau, obviously. So I've had some. It's been nice, and you always reminisce. And I mean, as I said, I talked to Alex Holloway at the weekend. He's someone that I'll always talk to. One of the funny things that used to go on the floor, I used to find, was all the dodgy gear that used to come on the floor. I mean, I remember buying 3 bottles of Petrus, and it was really nice wine. I remember drinking it. But the funniest thing, I actually got a couple of cavalry swords, and a mate of mine worked for Chelsea Barracks as an electrician. So, funny enough, I've actually got it somewhere. I'll maybe show you another time, but I've actually still got it. And I remember JLT, James Thompson, said, I'll have one of them off you. And I also had the cavalry helmet, the horse guard with the plume, the horse. And I remember he put the helmet on and he started making out he was on a horse going around the floor with his helmet on, jumping up and down. He actually bought that off me.
You're back.
You froze for a bit. Sorry.
Yeah, you too. Cool, mate. Keep going.
What was I saying about?
You were talking about the swords that were on the floor, of all things.
Yeah. So, no, I didn't buy. I actually sold them. It was me who sold them.
Oh, you sold them?
Yeah, a mate of mine worked at Chelsea Barracks, and he was given them. So he was given a couple of swords, and I was given a helmet, the old horse guard, the cavalry, which you see on Troop in the Colour. Yeah. And Jamie Thompson bought it off me. Jamie Thompson, JLT, he bought it off me. I remember him wearing it on the. He had it on the. He was riding around the floor, making out he was on a horse with it on. It was hilarious. But yeah, we used to get quite a few dodgy things. But you didn't know if it was real or not, did you?
A lot. Well, I was going to say, probably a lot of the guys who worked on the floor and were probably bloody successful, if they hadn't found their way onto the floor, would have been in jail.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, we used to get in the offices, like our Revco office, they used to say on the floor, "You're just Barrow boys." That was our nickname. You're Barrow
Yeah,
boys. You're nothing,
yeah,
you know. And at the end of the day, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I suppose when you're in your 20s and you earn the sort of six-figure salaries that you earn, it does make you a bit cocky. I mean,
oh, we
Larry,
were,
you do feel a bit
we
like
were
that. And
cocky.
then, I mean, we used to go. I mean, all the restaurant. I mean, one of the things that we always used to do is when you go to your Queglinos, Ponte de Tour, it's like, well, Bibendum, got to nick the ashtrays. I never forget, I nicked them in, I got them all still, but I nicked the Bibendum one. You remember the Bibendum Michelin build? It was like a
I
China one,
remember.
wasn't it? And I had
Yeah,
it under here. And as I walked out, it fell out and broke on the floor. And I just said to the maitre d', "Can I nick another one?" And I don't remember, I gave him some money or something, but I did that and I nicked another one. Do you remember there was a restaurant which was Michael Caine's restaurant, and it's not Langan's, it's the other one in Chelsea.
yeah,
Is
I
it the
know.
Canteen?
I can't
It
remember. Yeah, I
might have
think it
been the
might be actually.
Canteen.
Mm,
I'm not
mm.
sure. I think it might have been the Canteen. And I remember going there one night with John Ruskin and Simon Blau, and I mean, John Ruskin was paying, so he's like, "You can have what you want." It was the case of you have like a £65 glass of brandy. It's like, "Ooh, I don't like that. Take it back." And I remember, for a starter, I had this like pasta with a crayfish in it, and I remember taking the crayfish out, putting it at the side of my table, and I had a glass of Dom Perignon, a Jack Daniels, a Peroni beer, a glass of red wine, and the brandy. And at the end, there was this crayfish who I gave the Jack Daniels to. I put a fag in his other claw. So you had a crayfish sitting there like that, and we're just sitting there being such leery arseholes, basically. And there was a table below us,
Yeah, yeah,
and they were French. And Simon said, "Say this to them." So I just said it. I didn't know what I was saying. I can't repeat what I'd said, but it wasn't very pleasant.
mm,
And this day and age, it would be classed as inappropriate, and I'd probably have a jail sentence.
mm.
But anyway, um, it was obviously a man and wife and their father. So the father threw a glass at me, and the waiters have all come over and they're, "Oh, what's going on?" And John Ruskin sort of said, "Well, your customers are throwing glasses at us over there." So he said, "Can we be moved?" And he actually managed to broker a bottle of Dom Perignon out of it, so to keep us happy. From what happened, I mean, basically, I was just being a leery little idiot, you know. I shouldn't have said what Simon said. I did say to Simon after, "What did I say?" And he did say, "Well, I said this, but we don't need to repeat that." Because on the floor, there was, if you look at it now, I think a lot of us would be in prison because the way things have changed so much.
Oh God, yeah.
We
You
were,
couldn't get away with it now.
just, I mean, the way that the women were sometimes spoken to,
Yeah,
you would admire them because they would just it would go past them. They wouldn't care. Yeah, and
so
they're
true.
like, "Well, this is what it's like to be in this environment." I mean, I'm sure that would never happen now, but it was like that. But it was like that in the 80s, early 90s anyway. So it was a completely different way of
Yeah,
working. You know, the way we did
it
things
was.
was completely different. I mean, and that you had a discipline, didn't you? I mean, when working for Revco, I mean, all right, we did mess around, have fun, but you play very hard. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
one of our option traders one time. I remember one of our option traders, for a bet, he was asked to eat a tin of cat food. It was a little square of cat food, and I think he got given 250 quid for doing it. And our Bund manager at the time found out about this, and then he fined him 500 quid. So he got fined. So he ate the cat food and he got fined. So I thought that was a
brilliant.
great, lovely thing to happen. But we had great fun on the floor. I'd never take it away. As I say, I still speak to people on Facebook. I mean, I deleted my Facebook account a few years ago, completely went off it, went back on it 2 years,
Mm.
and you pick up with people as if, it was yesterday. And that was the
Yeah,
amazing thing for me. There was so many. I mean, we used to go out clubbing. I mean, I'd see you out. I mean, there'd be groups of us out, and you get different groups of
yeah,
groups. It's just, you know,
yeah,
and you had. I mean, with Revco, we all thought we thought we had quite a cool little firm at Revco. It was like,
yeah.
Alex
Oh, you
Holloway,
did.
Stafford, Danny Andrews,
Yeah,
Simon Blau, Tommy, and obviously your Mo Kimmings, and obviously I can go on and on. There was loads of us. I mean, Alex Holloway is a really good friend of mine still. We did
Yeah.
have such good times, and you can't take that away. And it's mad
Yeah.
that you still have that. It is just mad that it just never
To
gets
to be
taken away.
that age in that environment, that with that much money, it really just we were just so lucky.
We were, and let's be fair. I'll be totally honest, I wasn't. I mean, I worked for Revco. I mean, seeing some
Mm.
of the stories, some of the traders I saw, and I mean, in the Sterling pit, I saw a young trader in there. I saw him make £1,000,000 in about 5 minutes, and he did make £1,000,000. He did, and I
Really,
saw that. I saw it. I saw it. Saw him do it. And I mean,
really.
I mean, I had nothing but respect for that chap. I mean, he was one of
Mm.
the biggest players in the short Sterling. You probably know who I'm
I
talking
know who
about.
you're talking
But
about. I think. Mm.
yeah, he had a couple of brothers on the floor as well. He was. I
Mm.
always liked him. He was always good to me. And
Mm.
obviously with Revco, you had to do some crosses sometimes. And you know, when you go in and you've got to do a cross, I mean, you're talking some big size. The locals would give you the respect and let you do that. And even if some of them had positions, they still would let you do it. I never got stitched on a
Mm.
cross, and that
Yeah.
was, utter respect to them for that. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it was amazing. It was an amazing thing, it was fun. Remember all the shark, your spurs. You put spurs on your
It
shoes. I mean, people were
it
cut out
never
of the park.
failed to be funny, no matter how many times it happened. It was always hilarious. This
Oh,
is
one of
brilliant.
the funniest
We were
stories. Simon
we were
Blau
just
came
kids.
on the
We were
floor
still
with.
kids.
Well,
Mm.
we were, but Simon Blau came on the floor with a pair of Birkenstocks on.
Mm.
I've never heard someone get slaughtered as much as him. I mean,
Mm.
every pit, take it, it was take it off, take it off,
Take it off.
and he got absolutely slaughtered, bless him. And the thing is, another
Yeah.
thing that is sad, sort of changing the subject slightly here, but being on Facebook now and on LinkedIn, and you come across people that pass away, and
Yeah.
again, there's been seeing people that we work very closely with go. That's been a sad sort of thing as well, I think. But
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to do
you
this
know,
really, so we can get the stories down and before it's too late for all of us.
the thing is, you're going to have so many different stories from so many different people. I mean, you had. I mean, I was more younger. I mean, you've got your older lot, especially the Gilt locals, your Sterling, your Bund locals, and your BTP locals. Those sort of guys. I mean, the stories that they will share with you.
Yeah.
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 I was looked on the floor as a bit of a. I was very immature, but
Yeah.
I was sort of within the group of my age, and I was doing
Yeah.
some DJing to sell me tapes. We'd all go out. Someone that I've always been very close for on the floor was John Craven. I can just pick up. I would love, he's in the group I'm in. I mean, he gives me a bit of banter about Chelsea and gives me a few funny stickers with the double O's trader still. But as I say, being in that group itself is just seeing them all, and some of them in that group I didn't know as well as some of the others, but you just feel you've got a bond there, and it will never go. And I keep
Mm.
saying that bond, but
No,
it's true. And
I must
I
come
talk
back
to
for
Steve.
one of these reunions because I live in I live in Thailand. I think you probably know that, and so I
Yeah,
never
yeah,
go
yeah.
to the reunions. But I really must make an effort.
But I see you was with some from Singapore, weren't you? I'm sure I saw
Yeah,
you with a group
yeah,
of
Fifey
people.
I was with recently. Yeah, I still meet up with with Ian and Alex Longman and a few of the lads. Doogie. Mm.
Isn't Spencer? Spencer's out in Singapore. So Steve Hutchinson, he's out there, isn't he?
Mm. Mm.
Funny
Yeah,
enough,
there's a few.
there was a guy called Alex who used to work in the Buns. Funny enough, he lives in Switzerland. I had a conversation. He rang me up the other week. I had a conversation with him, and it's just so nice. I spoke to Steve Field, Strawberry, who's I used to do a lot of DJ. Well, I was DJ. Well, I tried to DJ, but he
Mm.
still DJs. And I mean, keep in contact with Darren Emerson occasionally. I'd like to see him more. I speak to his brother more, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, you could go on and on and on. I mean, I could tell you. So, I mean, you could go on about the stories. I mean, I did some stupid thing for. I mean, I remember Sherry Blair came on the floor,
Mm.
and I called her a bag of rubbish. But I don't know if I say that. But yeah, I
Mm.
did. I was a Larry sod. I mean, the Queen came on the floor. I thought, but
Yeah,
no, I can't show a bit of respect to the Queen. I mean,
yeah.
seeing
You
Heseltine,
did. She did get a
I
lot of
like.
respect.
Well, yeah, we give the Queen, of course we do. But
Mm.
but not Tony and Sherry Blair. I wouldn't know, because Sherry Blair was Colin. There was two locals, and she was there. I'm sure she was their solicitor. That's why she came on the floor. But yeah, and it's as I say, it is always nice to see people, especially yourself. It's been lovely to see you. And Simon blasted.
Yeah, lovely catching up, mate. Yeah, send my love to Simon, would you? I love
He's
him.
still
He's
the
such a
same.
lovely fella.
He
I
is.
know.
He's still a clown. But he's still love. He's probably one of the. Yeah, I mean, he does recruitment. He does very well in it. Yeah, he's a good lad.
He's doing well? That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, funny enough, I started teaching him a bit of recruitment a while back, but obviously he did it off his own back. But I sort of, this is what it's all about, because I've worked for myself for years. And yeah, he's a really good recruiter. He is very good.
Oh, good. So, yeah, I would. Well, he's so charming, and everybody, you can't not love him. So I would imagine that is what makes him so successful at that job. He's a great networker.
He was, and he was a good. He went in the BTP in the end, didn't he? Because I spent some time in the Bunds with him, and then I was with Mark Popple. I mean, me and Mark Popple, I had great times with Mark Popple. I mean, I never forget one time Mark Popple, he had a big thing of change on him. He's put his hands in his pockets and he's like, "How much is there? You can have it." I went £16.37, and it was. Well, it wasn't £16.37, but whatever he said,
pretty close.
It was. And he's like, "Oh, yeah, to give it to me." Yeah, I bought me breakfast. Working with him was good fun because he was a good trader. I mean, and it was nice working obviously with Nick Prentice and Neil Gianelli, because they were right jokers with us, and they really looked after us, because they used to do all our Bund paper. They'd take us to some really nice places, and we went did water skiing one weekend with them. They took us to this place. They take us everywhere, and we went horse races. Ascot with them in the box, and they really looked after us. But Nick Prentice, I always remember his little grin, and he really would wind you up and do things. He had that little grin, and I just remember his little face, and he was little grinning at you. And I love Mo Kimmings. He's one of the only people I have not heard from since leaving the floor. Was Mo Kimmings. I always wanted to know what happened to him. And Michael Gunter, whatever happened to Michael Gunter? Because I really like Michael Gunter. He came to Amsterdam with me on a stag do one time. I mean, he was just like, "You're just mental." And we went, obviously, it was my friends, but Simon and Tommy from the floor were with us. But yeah, that was a good time. But funny enough, it was after Amsterdam. I didn't see him again. But yeah. So you're all right yourself. So you live in Thailand?
Yeah, I live in Thailand. I live in Phuket. I went out there and I built a bunch of houses and we rent them out, and that nearly killed me. But anyway, managed to come out the other side of it. So it's running all right now. And I still have my little trading business, and I've set up an AI company which is in the Philippines, and I'm trying to just stop working. I'm really trying to stop and start to actually enjoy my life and not just be working constantly and stressed out of my mind.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I mean, the one thing I've learned, I mean, since I left the floor, I went into recruitment, as I said, and I did some work. Remember Gary DeMole? I did a bit of work with him,
of course,
because I went in house with a company, and I got him to do some placements for me. And I remember Gary saying to me, "How hard is it to make £1,000 now you're off the floor?"
Yeah,
and that's so true.
I mean, true.
Fair,
so true.
If you think we were given, I mean, we were paid extremely well. I mean, ridiculous money. I mean, I wasn't on that much money, but I still got around 150 grand a year. But when you're 25 years old, that's a lot of money, and that went on for a few years. So I wasn't at a level.
That's £500 a day. That's £500 a day, and that was in the 90s. So I mean,
well, this is the thing. It makes you realise. I mean, how it certainly set me up to lead a nicer life, and that's something that I can never be grateful enough. And I had my ups and downs with my bosses at Revco, but at the end of the day, one thing I do have for them is utter respect. I left Revco not in the best ways, to be fair. That was one of my regrets from the floor. If you said to me, "What are your regrets from the floor?" One was the way I left Revco, because a certain manager, I had nothing but respect and love for. You used to fight for them, didn't you? Because you were as a team, you was like a family, and the way it ended with me and Revco, I was a bit I remember speaking to someone from Revco not so long ago about it actually, who used to live near me. And I said to him, yeah, one of my biggest regrets was some of the things I did say on the floor towards the end. You know, I mean, I've kept in contact with my other Revco manager quite a lot. I've, you know, been on these. Can I say this on a podcast about you? And like, yeah, you know, occasionally sort of ring him up. Got any business you can give me? But obviously, unfortunately, can't. But yeah, you know, I will never take that away. And it's the same as I said with the people you build bonds with. Like I said, Alex Holloway, Craven, Johnny Stafford. I could go on. You know, Paul Foley, you know, you don't lose those things, and you speak to them. And as I say, me and Spurt, it's funny because me and Smurf always have a bit of banter about our size. And when he came over to the barbecue, when he came over last year or the year before, whatever it was, we had a little height off, a hobbit off, as we called it. We measured each other.
I should have been there for that.
Well, we wind up Milky and Dogsy as well, but not the Dogsy from the Guilt Pit, other little Dogsy from Deutsche.
Right.
But
you should have had me and Tony Hopkins in there, yeah.
Yeah. But so in our group though, I always say, no, Smurf's lying. He's lying. This isn't true. And then in the conversation, we had a little conversation on Facebook one night, and I said, I do love winding you up because you know you're taller than me. And then he put it on the group. Yeah, here's Savva's evidence he's smaller than me. So we still have, like, I mean, that's sort of silly banter, but even to this day, and that's the thing, you know, and that's why I love the Life golf group that I'm in. You know, you're still there, and even if you look on the Life Floor LinkedIn page and your Facebook, people putting on stories. Did you see Pointless with Clive and Jason on it? No. Pointless. Do you know BBC really? Pointless? Yeah, they're on it. They won it. Yeah, they won it.
Oh, really?
Watching them on that was really funny. It was really funny seeing that. And then, and obviously, any stories that you see go up on Facebook. I mean, Dave Wagstaff was another one. That was another one from Revco who I was very close with, and he was just such a lovely chap. He really is, and he is generally very, very funny guy, and he's just such a lovely guy. But he would be for me. He would be one of them to put his arm around me at Revco when I had some bad times. He was always there for me. Dick Matthews was, to be fair. He was always so good to me, and Mo Kimmings was. You know, I was lucky. They all sort of looked after me, put me under their arm, and I mean, there was a time when Tony Paris ran Revco, this was when I was still DJing. He said to me, "Me and you need to go for a beer." And it was I remember we went. It was a Friday night after APT. I remember we drank 4 pints of Guinness in about an hour, really quick. And he said to me, he goes, "You've got the potential to be such a good trader, but you're letting this drip through your hands like jelly because of the way you're really partying too much. You're DJing." He says, "I'm going to give you a choice: give up your DJing and come back to work Monday, or don't bother coming in Monday." So I just sort of looked at it and I thought, well, I'm not a very good DJ anyway. I couldn't mix. I could just have the records, and I can let that go. I can't let the Life Floor go. And I gave up DJing then, and that was in '93. So I gave DJing up, and so the last sort of 4 or 5 years with me on the floor was obviously then Bunker and Dick took over. It got serious because it was busy. We was a big player on the floor, and sure, we worked hard, we played hard. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I went to some of the best restaurants, visited the best countries. I mean, I couldn't do it now, but it's just not the same lifestyle. And that's something.
To have done it.
We are, and I mean, as I said, the only regret I have is the way I left Revco. If I could have changed that, I would. I really would.
Yeah.
But
we all said things that we regret. I think.
Yeah, of course, and things change.
Yeah, the heat of the moment. Everyone would understand.
You say, well, I was immature on the floor. So
come on, we all were. You had to be in order to work there. We were kids.
Well, I think
we were kids Yeah, of course. Look, you've got to bear in mind that anyone who was on the floor was in the top 10% of anyone who tried to get on the floor, because 90% of people couldn't do it.
No.
And so, you were in the, at least in the top 10%. And if you were doing as well as, you and I did on the floor, then we were in the top certain percentage of people that are even on the floor. So
the amazing thing, even to this day, is me adding up. It's still I can add up just like with the tip of your fingers, and that's the thing. And I mean, as I said, I talked about the market for 14,000 sterling. I think that was my biggest order. Well, paper filling order, not obviously you cost more, but yeah, that. And I mean, I remember it was all in little bits, and I was just adding it up, and I didn't actually have an error. I actually managed to do that, and it worked. And you know, sometimes I'd have good days. I mean, sometimes you'd have errors and you make money. I did make money some errors. I mean, you know, I made 200 grand on one error. Again, wow. Yeah, it was. The figure came out, and I thought, so I can't remember who I was with. I did it. I did something. I sold. Sorry, buy on it. Sold. Just sold. I thought you'd do a 10 lot or something because we could trade 5, 10 lots. And it wasn't. It was a 200 clip, and yeah, it made not sorry. What I talk? It didn't make 200 grand. It made 50 grand. Sorry, it made 50,000. So it wasn't 200. It was 50,000. Sorry, but yeah, big slight difference. You know, us on the floor, we used to like exaggerating. But so yeah, but you'd be so quick at adding up, and I mean, you think about sometimes, right? You've got a booth of 5 brokers all giving you orders at the same time. You're taking the orders and you're passing them on to the person who's trading, or you're trying to trade because he's got too much or she's got too much she's trading with. So you've got to help each other out. And the thing is, as I said to you when we discussed earlier about the runners, your runners, they were the cog in your wheel, if you like, because if they didn't do it. You know, and I used to love being a runner myself, to be fair, because I didn't do my blue button for quite some time. I like being a runner, and then it was said to me, look, you'll earn more money. This is your next step. You've been earning it. Now you move to the next level. And obviously, I remember doing my blue button. I think I failed it the first time, but being in the pit and watching people, and then helping your runners and saying that I'll help you tonight. Because do you remember on a Tuesday and a Thursday, the runners would all go in a pit and do a pretend market? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I
mean, I just remembered that, thinking about it. And then you would go in, and you would stay as a trader. You'd help them, and that's the things. They would stay sometimes 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and that's why I did the thing called the Savva lottery with them. You know, I wanted to get them. They don't earn great money, but it's just give them something. You know, to sort of say, I think you deserve it. Take them out. We go out with them all the time. Always take them for lunches and things. But you know, if it wasn't for our runners, you wouldn't have done half the thing. You know, you wouldn't have functioned like you did. You know, the worst thing in the pit is when you run out of cards as well. I got no cards, and it's like you start panicking. But there was some amazing times, as I said, nights out. You know, just even if it's just a quiet day in the pit. You'd have your entertainment from
the banter was brilliant.
Well, it was. I mean, you always, and it wasn't nasty. I mean, there was a couple of times people had a few rare ups in the floor, if I remember rightly. But in general, it was always fun. I mean, even the things when
hilarious. The jokes were brilliant.
The polish on your ear was always. And I always got done with that. I mean, just the things that you would do. They put you in. Just even your trading cards, people put chewing gum between them. They're stuck together, or the Marmite and butter. That was a classic one in the pockets. You know, we always do silly things. But the one thing I always used to find as well, you always had a lovely bit of rivalry banter between your FTSE pit and your BTP, or your Bund and your Euromark. You would have your locals, your big players, and you'd have the people. And that's what was good about it. And obviously in options as well, they'd give us their business doing the options. That's it. And I remember we were all sitting on a table. There's about 10 of us, all these options. And next to us, there was a table of Asian guys. And one of them had the worst earpiece. We're all, syrup. That was it. Syrup. All of us.
I remember that,
You're supposed to be a mature trader. I remember him, syrup. And he would be doing that all the time. It was just hilarious. But it was the thing, as I said. And do you remember get long-weighted gilts? Get your runner.
Oh God, I remember that one.
Long-weighted gilts. Well, long-weighted gilts. You sit there because they knew straight away. Can you give me a price for long-weighted gilts? It's like going into a hardware shop and asking for glass nails, isn't it? It was one of them little things. And again, they'd be sitting there, and you'd be laughing.
And the key to the discount window.
Oh yeah.
Can I get the key to the discount window?
And I'll never forget one time there was one of the funniest things on the floor. One of the Life, the Life, the one that you still pricing. I
Yeah.
remember the office, and one of the Life girls. She's coming with a baseball bat, and everyone's like, "Why have you got a baseball bat?" And she said, "Oh, it was dark when I went left to come to work. I pick up an umbrella." She picked up a baseball bat and bought a baseball bat. I'll never forget that.
Oh,
Good old
brilliant.
days. We had the
Good
best
old
days ever,
days.
Jason. We were so lucky to
We
be
really
part
did.
of that,
Yeah.
and we are so lucky to still. You think? I mean, people get together all the time. To say
Yeah.
yourself, I talk to people all the time, and I'm sure it will continue to happen. It will continue happening, and it's a great idea.
Yeah.
You're doing a podcast. Do you know what? When I first left the floor, literally the very first, I thought of writing a book because I think you'd make an amazing
Yeah.
book. But I don't have. I probably do have
Yeah.
some stories, but some shouldn't be printed. But I do think because I've heard other people talk about it, and I think someone should write a book and then do stories because there is
Good.
so many stories.
Maybe this will inspire it if I can get enough people on the podcast and at least get the
Who
stories down.
else
We
have
can
you
turn
got
it
going
into
to
a
do it
book.
with you? Who else have you got doing the
I've got a
podcast?
list of people. I've got quite a good list. I've been really busy, so I've not been able to get cracking. So you are the first one. Yeah, I mean, I'll just try and do one a week. If I could do one a week, keep it going, it'd be amazing.
Yeah, well, it is a good thing, and I mean, as I said, Dick Matthews was doing one, and I listened to them. They're actually on LinkedIn. But mate, it's been a real pleasure talking to you. As I say, if there's anything you
It's
need,
lovely,
anything
man.
else,
Lovely.
just give me a
Thank
call.
you so much.
It
Well,
was a real
we'll obviously stay in
chat.
touch. And you never know,
Yeah.
with a bit of luck, I might be in Devon, but I'll see you before too long, I do hope. Mate, yeah, take care of yourself. Lovely. Thank you so much for your time.
Cheers, Joe. Take care, buddy. Bye-bye.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye.